So here is a dinner party game that you can play. I want you to stop the conversation. Do it. Make everyone get out their phone. Yes, get out their phone and navigate to screen time and make people show you their number. And it's actually not this number. It is, you have to click see all. It is this number, the daily pickups number. It was shocking to me and it caused me to reflect, but it did not cause me to change my behavior. And so today we'll go over the Apple settings for screen time and riff on how they could be improved. Okay, so we all likely want to use our phone less, and there's good reason. There's tons of research. You likely know it. It's like if you put your phone on the dinner table, you're going to use it. Research says around 11% of the time, and you're going to enjoy it less. You're going to enjoy the dinner less. And by the way, your productivity is gone, right? If your phone's there. And we know that multitasking is bad for us. If you multitask, your productivity decreases by 40%. We know. And I think I'm a little tired of saying, like, it's a problem. Like, we know it's a problem. So what do we do about it? And the answer is just like use it less. Like that is correct, use it less, but that is hard. And so how do we use it less? And basically there are two types of solutions here. And I think this is kind of like a pullback moment where we're like, okay, by the way, you can see all my data here as we go over this. So please, feel good about yourself while looking at my embarrassing stats. But there are two types of solutions here. And one is we're going to call the iframe. So this is a paper, recent, actually kind of a couple years ago, paper called iframe and S-frame. And they're iframe solutions. And it's basically you change. So we give you tools to change your behavior. And this is currently what Apple does. That's what we're going to go over today is iframe interventions. And they don't currently, the authors of this idea would say they don't currently fundamentally change the rules of the game, but they make these like subtle adjustments to help fallible individuals play the game better, right? They help us be a little bit better. And the second type of solution is called S-frame. And in S-frames, basically it's a system changes. So instead of moving the cookies away from you, you change how food is produced, you change how it's distributed and advertised. So for something like social media, like you can imagine TikTok has store hours and it's only open until 11 p.m., right? That would decrease our usage, or TikTok slows down, right? And so then it's less appealing, right? It's basically saying social media is not going to taste as good if it was slower. And so those are S-frame ones. But for now, what we have is iframe ones. And iframe ones is basically you go into your settings in Apple and you change things to make it harder for you to use the iPhone. And so we're going to take a peek at this. We actually have to opt in to change our behavior. So we are going to look at settings right now for Apple and take a peek at this idea of we are what we measure, and the idea that Apple is giving us data and then giving us the tools to change our behavior because of that data. And so the first insight is this is 119 good? Like, what are my friends doing, right? Is 3 hours and 2 minutes good? Is 5 hours good? I don't know. And so that's the week data. That's my week average. So like we understand what 10,000 steps is, right? We understand that if you take 2,000 steps a day, that may not be as good as 10,000 because 10,000 is some benchmark we've socially agreed upon. By the way, it may crowd out actual running or other physical activity, but we understand what good is. And in the screen time world, we don't. So that's one opportunity is what is good. And Apple could really help set that scene. They could also benchmark us on something that's like slightly achievable. So for me, if I'm an average 5 hours, they benchmark me on 4.5 and then tell me in the morning if I'm likely to run over. And so we don't want, to have folks go down to 1 hour immediately, but we could kind of slowly get them slowly get me going in a way that is like a little bit less than I did yesterday. Okay, so that's insight one. Insight two is basically this idea of pickups. So this is my weekly average of pickups, and it's telling me what I'm doing wrong. And if you think about how dog trainers view dogs, as in how do you train them, or parents view their kids, for a dog, you don't say, don't run, right? You say, come here. And so you're basically telling the dog what to do, not what not to do. Same thing with a kid. You don't say, don't hit, you say gentle. So you're really directing behavior of what to do versus what not to do. And in this world, this like pickups is what not to do. And so we really want to think about, and Apple could develop a feature that's around what to do, which is not touch your phone. And so you can imagine a world, and there's apps, the one I like is called Forest, where basically, you set it down and it gives you kind of Pomodoro style goals where you're setting it down and you don't want to touch it for 30 minutes. And so that could be the idea, is where you're not touching the phone for increments of 30 minutes, an hour, 10 minutes, right? That would be wild. And so we are what we measure, but we want to measure the good things that we do, not the bad things. And so when I'm thinking about why this hasn't changed for me, it's because I'm not actually taking the behaviors. I'm not putting my phone away, when I'm working. I'm not, actually moving it. The thing that it did motivate, and I would say not to any benefit of Apple telling me to, is what I did is I turned off my notifications for WhatsApp. And this really did help my kind of checking of WhatsApp. There is a nice study that Dan Ariely did where he basically, and team, where looked at how if you batch notifications, so instead of notifications coming all the time, you batch them at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m., and batching notifications into 3 sets per day made people feel more productive, happier, more in control, less stressed than people who did not have their notifications on. And so, the big thing that Apple could do here is nudge me, ask me, push me to actually change my notifications. So this idea of taking a one-time behavior change, Kristen turning off her WhatsApp notifications, could have rolling effects on my future behavior. It's not my willpower every day to not touch my phone. It's that I made a one-time decision to do this. You can also imagine after I see this for the first time, they would pair their screen time metrics with this. So their screen time features. Screen time features look like downtime. If you haven't looked at downtime, please do. It's more than do not disturb. It's more than focus. There's a thing called downtime by which it turns everything off at certain moments. And so you would basically pair this emotional response to seeing the 125 with an action immediately. As we say in behavioral science, information doesn't change behavior, but just-in-time information can have an effect. And so telling people at the moment that they are influenced or aware of something, and then giving them the tools and the toolkit to actually make the change in that moment can really be effective, but it has to be timed together. So that's really, I think, it's easy for these iframe things. It's easy for me to blame Apple. That's why I'm not doing it. But for me, I'm going to use Forest more. I'm going to turn off some notifications, and maybe I'll try to, get below 100 one of these days.